What's up guys, FlamingVictini here, and I am back for my Week 7 SPL game against Reiku. Now I want to jump right into this, because I know you see that stall team. I know you're thinking, oh, this is going to be a long video, this is going to be really boring. I want to keep up the tradition of making the videos and stuff for my weekly games, and there were some interesting decisions in this game that I wanted to talk about. For example, put in the words of my manager, normal human lead with Mega Sableye when playing with Stall, and I made some decisions that maybe come off as like me playing the stall really aggressively, maybe unconventional, not leading off with my Mega Sableye and stuff. So I just want to explain how I approached this game, how I was able to beat a team with Hoopa, Ghostium Gengar. It was we'll talk about that. DD Mega Gyarados. Like, there's some tricky stuff to play on this team. Anyway, the thing I noticed was that because I noticed he has some very dangerous stall breakers. Pheromosa could theoretically be troublesome if it's like Quiver Dance Hyper Beam. Magearna could be troublesome if it's Thunderbolt, Phytinium Z, Focus Blast, Flash Cannon. Gengar could be very troublesome regardless if it's set in most cases. If it just has Trick or if it has Taunt and it's like a Z move especially, that could be really troublesome. Hoopa, of course, always troublesome. I really need to rely on my Dugtrio to get rid of it, but even if it doesn't get a defense drop, then Reversal's not going to be able to KO it, so that's something I need to pay attention to. And that Gyarados is looking by far the scariest thing on his team. If it has Taunt, I'm in for a really rough ride, and if it's Mega Gyarados, not Flynium Z or something like that, then my Clefable won't even be able to really beat that. So it's something I really have to be careful about. He has a ton of dangerous threats to my team, and so I thought I needed to take a bit more of an active approach to this game. I couldn't play this stall game to just wait it out and have him unable to break me, because he has a lot of methods to break my team. So I felt I needed to create a game plan to actually try to win, to try to break down his team as quickly as I could. So normally I would lead with Mega Sableye, but I felt this wouldn't accomplish anything because I would simply get stuck in a vortex with that Magearna and that Lando T. Lando T coming in, pushing me to go to my Sableye to stop the rocks, or pushing me to go to Skarmory to defog. He has more Rocks PP than Skarm's defog, so at some point I need to be going to Sableye, but regardless, the whole entire time he's getting momentum on my Sableye or my Skarmory, I'm just going to be dealing no damage the whole time, and he's just going to keep on pressuring me, and he's going to get chances to bring in the stall breakers and stuff like that. So I felt I needed to get up rocks, one thing just to get that chip damage on Hoopa for my Dugtrio, and also I felt like I needed to status that Lando T. Like, one thing about his team, I have no clue what the Z move user is. Like, literally every single Mon could effectively use a Z move. I have no clue what's his Scarf, or if it's Scarf Gengar, Scarf Pheromosa, could even be a Scarf Hoopa for all I know. And yeah, he has a ton of options, so I just don't know. I don't know what the best, like, a big part of this game is figuring out his sets. I need to figure out his sets so I know how to appropriately deal with them, and I feel like I need to take an active approach to this game, which is why I lead off with my Chansey, because this allows me to get up my rocks immediately. And it also allows me to get off a Toxic versus Lando T. Now we see the Magearna pull a hard switch out of Chansey, so I'm thinking maybe it doesn't have Volt Switch and it may be a Z move user. So that's something I have in mind. And goes to his Lando. I don't go to my Skarm to defog because I'm just not going to make any progress. I have to Toxic this Lando T. That's the only way this Lando T is going to eventually die. Now I do have to play with rocks up. So one of my primary goals at this point is to get these rocks off the field. That being said, it's not very easy to get rocks off the field because everything on his team pressures me a lot. So, but it is something I'm going for and something that I'll be keeping in mind. Now, the reason I do go to Skarmory right here is because if he's like an SD Lando, I don't want to stay in. Even though I've seen like the Magearna might be the Z move user, it's just dangerous. So he U-turns into his Hoopa. That screams special to me, so I went into my Chansey, but he has actually Fire Punch, and looking at the damage, that's not even Choice Banded, so my Chansey might actually just wall this Hoopa, because without the Choice Band, Hoopa doesn't really beat Chansey 1v1. Now with the rocks and 2 Hyperspace Furies, I think he might have a chance to kill. I don't remember actually. He does like around 40 max, a little bit more than that, so it's a close call. He switches out into his Gengar as I soft boil. Now here I don't want to get tricked but I'm also like just not sure what he wants to do in general. So I just go into my Toxapex. I don't want my Toxapex to get tricked, but I don't really have other options, and this is the most flexible choice. I definitely don't want my Chansey to get tricked, especially since I'm literally going to be using that to take on the Hoopa while the rocks are up and my Dugtrio can't have its Sash. You see a Shadow Ball there. I'm in range of a Z, of a Never-Ending Nightmare from that Gengar, so I switch back to my Chansey as he just Shadow Balls again. Now I know that if he's a choice set with Trick, he cannot trick me at this point anymore because he's already locked into Shadow Ball, and if he's not a set with Trick, then I don't have to fear anything except for maybe Taunt. So I'm just sitting around here trying to scout out a set, figure out what this Gengar is. That's basically what I'm doing with my Chansey. So I'm going to skip some turns. He switches out to Lando, I Soft Ball, he U-turns, I heal back. He does the same Shadow Ball thing, I go back to Chansey. Here he shows Taunt, so that tells me that, okay, now this Gengar is something I do need to be playing very carefully around. I think right there I panicked a little bit. I probably should have just stayed in with Chansey because it was pretty obvious he's going to Shadow Ball. I really can't afford to lose a Mon at this point to Gengar, and Toxapex can't really 1v1 a Taunt Gengar, especially if it's Never-Ending Nightmare, which I'm suspecting. I definitely do not want to lose my Toxapex to a random Z move. I have to be very careful about that. But my Sableye can beat the Gengar if it can get a safe switch. If it switches into a Shadow Ball, game over. But my Sableye can definitely beat the Gengar 1v1 if I manage to get a safe switch. So that's what I'm trying to do right here. So that switch to Toxapex kind of didn't accomplish much, but I go into my Chansey on the S-Ball. I stay in, trying to see if he wants to S-Ball again or Taunt. He Sludge Waves right here. So now I'm at 61. This is important because I can't afford to take any more damage regardless. Well, my Taunt wears off this turn. The thing is, because I'm low, now he values the Taunt on my Chansey more, because he wants to keep that Chansey low for his Magearna, for his Hoopa, and I also want to keep my Chansey healthy because I don't want to take any more damage, because at least at this point I can switch into rocks and still be able to take a hit from Hoopa. I pull a switch into my Sableye, very, very aggressive. If he pulled a Shadow Ball right there, it would have been very tough for me, but he does just Taunt. So I'm able to get off my Mega Evolution and knock off this Pheromosa, this incoming Pheromosa. We see that it is indeed a Choice Scarf Pheromosa, so I'm expecting it to just U-turn, but I don't really want to stay in because I am taunted, I can't recover. So I just go to my Toxapex. I also know this will allow me to get some Regenerator recovery, as he just goes for the Rapid Spin. So he removes my rocks, which is a little progress that I'd like to have had, but he does U-turn into his Magearna. As I just go for a Skull, I'm trying to fish for burns on his team, get a bit of chip damage going on. Here, I know I'm a little prone to a Volt Switch crit, but I don't really have another choice but to recover up. The reason I knew that he was Assault Vest Magearna and that he had Volt Switch was because of the Skull damage on the Magearna. It showed me that it had to be an Assault Vest Magearna because it did only 9%. So I do recover up on this incoming Hoopa switch. Now, even if this thing is Zen Headbutt Hoopa, I know I can live 1, and I'm kind of expecting it not to be, just because most of them are not carrying that at this time. They want to be running things like, well, we did see that Fire Punch already, and Reiku has been using T-Tar a good amount, so I could see Drain Punch on it, I could see Knock Off on a Hoopa that's not Choice Locked, stuff like that. So he's just clicking Hyperspace, I'm just recovering, I'm trying to scout him out, trying to figure out if he does have Zen Headbutt, then okay, I need to deal with that appropriately. But it seems like he's kind of stuck with his Hoopa. I go for a Skull, just trying to get a burn, and I get the burn on the incoming Magearna, not the Hoopa, but this is still good because I'm making sure I keep chipping down the Magearna over and over. Now here he gets a crit, which is, at least it wasn't the turn earlier. I actually Skulled again, and I get another burn. This burn on the Gengar is definitely very, very good because now it's on a timer. And this means it's much easier to play around. I just go for a recover right here because I know worst case scenario, I'll get some Black Sludge, he'll take some damage, and I can still play around it. Now right here, I knew there was the option of the Never-Ending Nightmare, but I just couldn't afford to do anything else. I just didn't have another option, so that's why I went for the Scald. He tried to predict my Chansey. I just couldn't afford to go to my Chansey. Now, here, I again did not want to go to Chansey. It was very obvious for him to throw out a Ghost move, but I just didn't expect him to do it because of my Chansey. Like, for example, going for something like Taunt could make sure that something like his Gyarados could set up a little more freely because my Chansey is weakened and it can't Toxic. So that's something I want to avoid. And I also just don't want to come in and take that Stealth Rocks, because if I have to switch out again right after that, then that means I'm in range of Hoopa, which can be really, really troublesome for the late game. So I do pull a switch to my Sableye, and I catch him on that taunt, so he actually never even throws out that Ghost TMZ Shadow Ball. I did ask him after the game, that was his set, but he goes into his Magearna right here. I just protect just to get a little chip. And the reason I stay in the turn right after here is because I know that if he goes for a Flare Cannon, I'll get compensation because I'll get to defog with my Skarmory, and with the Toxic Lando, I'll be able to prevent rocks from going up on the game and staying there ever for the rest of the game. So I know I have that compensation if he chooses to Flare Cannon my Sableye, that, hey, I can get off a defog with my Skarmory, and that's going to help a ton. Because it's going to give my Dugtra's Focus Sash back, which means I have another way to deal with that Gyarados, another way to deal with that Hoopa, which is really, really important. Here, he just goes to his Lando after the Volt Switch. I'm just protecting and recovering my health back up. Just keeping myself as healthy as I can possibly be, because I may need to use this to check Gyarados later on in the game since I don't have the defog yet. Here I do pull a switch into Toxapex. I kind of go back. I kind of decide that Sableye, you know what, full health Sableye, now that's a little bit more worth it compared to a 64% Sableye. Now here he goes into Gyarados, which shows me that he's most likely Mega with Earthquake. Because you wouldn't go to Gyarados if you were a Flynium Z Gyarados. So I just pull a switch into my Clefable as he Earthquakes. I'm going to go for a Wish right here. I don't really have a choice, because if he switches out, I need to make sure this Clefable is at maximum health so I can check the Gyarados later on. He just goes straight for the Dragon Dance, which means he's going to get a second one on my Moonblast, and then he's going to be able to Mega, take another Moonblast, and hit me with Mold Breaker. Now he actually shows that he is non-Waterfall Gyarados because he goes for the Earthquake right here. He gets a crit actually, which is really, really scary, but at least he didn't have Waterfall and crit that, because then I would have died and I probably would have lost. But I get that Moonblast damage off in the Gyarados. It looks like it's just out of range of 2 Will-O-Wisp, but we'll see. He takes me out with the Crunch. I go into my Sableye. I could have gone into my Skarmory, but I just didn't want to because Crunch, +2 Crunch was out damaging Roost, and if I mispredicted between Dragon Dance, Counter, Roost, and stuff, it would just be really bad. So he has to crit me to prevent the Wisp, and I have to hit the Wisp since he doesn't have Waterfall to flinch me. Thankfully, I hit the Wisp on this Gyarados. I go for the Protect, hoping that that's enough to take it out, because this way it'll give me the switch initiative. Unless he wants to go to a mon like Magearna, in which case I need to prevent that thing from getting Soul Heart. But he does live, so I try to go for a double Protect. Doesn't work out for me. But at least this Gyarados goes down. So now the final obstacle is really that Hoopa. He actually goes straight to the Hoopa. I wasn't expecting him to do that because I thought he wanted to make sure that my Skarmory wouldn't be able to defog. But I go into my Toxapex because I know that I can get my Regenerator. And I really need to get my Regenerator. And because right now I can't like switch to Chansey willy-nilly. And Magearna is looking very threatening at this moment, so he goes into Hoopa, and he actually goes straight for the Fire Punch. I went to my Skarm as he goes for the Fire Punch. Now here I know he's not going to Hyperspace Fury, because if he does, Dugtrio just comes right back in and he just EQs and takes out the Hoopa because it's at -1. So I save the Skarmory, which is going to be important later for his Landorus, because I need another switch in. I need the option of potentially defogging or setting up his spikes, and this Toxic is going to be what's going to let me beat this Hoopa without having to deal out damages. I just need to keep on recovering against this Hoopa and it'll just kill itself. And so that's why the Toxic was really, really important right there. The best way to kill this Hoopa. That way I don't have to even waste a turn attacking it. I can just keep healing up my mons to make sure they can check everything else. So I'm able to get my Chansey to full. I definitely can't stay in on this Pheromosa, so I just pull a safe switch into my Toxapex. He U-turns, predicts it, goes to his Magearna. I mean, that's fine. I can't really do anything about it. I think at this point I can't really afford to switch into my Chansey and get trapped in a vortex of Volt Switch plus U-turn, so I have to risk the crit right here. He doesn't get it, thankfully, and this means that he's going to be in a really, really tough spot to kill my Toxapex. He goes into his Lando T. and he's gonna click E. Oh, he U-turns, right? So here I predict him to not Earthquake, and I know even if he does Earthquake, I can live one unless he crits. Now I know I'm risking crits at this point, but I think I really can't afford to play super duper safely because again those rocks are still up, which is part of why like this whole game I have to be a little more aggressive than usually are with stall. Anyway, he goes for the Volt Switch into his Hoopa. I think I just recover right here. I want to keep myself as healthy as possible. And at this point, he actually just starts trying to go for burns with Fire Punch, which is kind of funny. I'm trying to keep my Toxapex as healthy as possible, but when I realize that what he's just trying to do is just to burn my Toxapex, I decide to preserve my Recover PP. I also set up the Toxic Spikes, that way the Pheromosa is also taking that passive damage, and I can just keep on recovering again and it'll die and it'll kill itself. So now I've set up a win condition for all of the opposing mons to die, so I just need to stick around and not die. I scald right there just to save an extra recover, just in case that ends up mattering in the end game where I need to stall him out. He goes to his Lando. I know a crit EQ can't kill my Toxapex, so I just go for the recover. I'm back to 90. I think at this point, like a max roll crit EQ would kill, but I've gotten the extra toxic damage anyway. I think I can afford to pull a switch to Skarmory at this point, and he does go for another EQ, so now he's taking that extra toxic damage, and I think this game is pretty much over at this point. He U-turns instead of HP Ice or whatever to take me out, which means I'm going to be able to get up Spike as well. It's just going to speed up the process of him being worn down and me winning. I'm not going to stand with my Skarmory right here because I don't want to give this Magearna Soul Heart. He actually HP fires instead of Volt Switching, but because he's trying to get that Soul Heart, but I'm not going to give him that. So at that point, it's basically the game. I just keep healing, and he eventually dies. Yeah, he eventually dies. So yeah, that was the game. He had a lot of scary stall breakers. I wasn't expecting that, obviously, otherwise I wouldn't have chosen stall, but I did have to play a bit aggressively because he had rocks, especially because he had rocks up the whole game. And while that was very annoying, and while it was annoying to not have my Sableye already Mega'd for his Gengar, I still felt like I just would not be making any progress to lead Sableye and protect, switch out on, and keep on switching out defensively. I felt like a super defensive mode of the stall team would simply not be enough to hold up against Raigu's team. If Raigu's team was like just stuff, it just didn't have stuff that could break stall, then I think that would be fine, but he had a lot of scary stuff, so that's why I think I had to take a little more aggressive approach with this, keep him on his toes, make sure that he can't just do whatever he wants, and some of my plays were really, really crucial in making sure that I had that difference, that Mon difference, and was able to win out in the end. So anyway, yeah, that was the game. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys later.